From finding a bag of wallets to discovering a killer, people have made the craziest discoveries while hiking. I'm Melissa Mwati, your host, and here are your top 10 unsettling discoveries made by hikers. Coming up at our number 10 spot, we have a few wallets. When this Reddit user was exploring the Australian outback in university with her friend, she came across what she described as a tightly wrapped plastic bag filled with 6 damaged wallets. She thought it was quite weird because they were so far out in the outback that you never usually find trash out there. They decided to inspect it and saw that all of the cards and the wallets belonged to girls in their teens and late 20s. These girls lived from all over. Some lived in the Northern Territory, but one was in Sydney and another from Queensland. It wasn't until they handed the wallets over to the cops, and the cops gave them a strange look, did they realize, oh, oops, what if these were left there by a serial killer? Yeah, I would never pick up a wallet in the wilderness in the first place because then my fingerprints would be all over it. I've watched too many crime docs to ever make that mistake. In our number 9 spot, we have the cage. One day, when this Reddit user's boyfriend was out walking in the woods with his friend, he discovered a giant human-sized cage. On further inspection, the cage had a mattress in it, and it looked quite worn down. After discovering this, they obviously called the police. This is too weird not to. A mattress is one thing, cause man might be camping, but a cage with a mattress inside of it is highly sus. Apparently the cops were very interested to find out about this, and the police officer asked if they had heard any screams while they were there. Apparently screams in these woods have been reported. Yikes. Well, thankfully they didn't hear anything because that would have probably been a much scarier situation to have rolled up into. But in any case, hopefully that case of what the heck that cage was for was solved because that just sounds terrifying. In our number 8 spot, we have the Love Shack. This one makes me just want to sing that song, Love Shack, doo-doo Love Shack, even though I don't know the words, whatever. Love Shack is all you need to know. This Reddit user was out for a hike in the woods when he came across a shack made out of lumber. The shack appeared so random and out of place, so the hiker had to go in and inspect it, obviously. What he found, yep, you guessed it, a love shack. There was a bench built inside of it and was put right in the middle of the shack, and on the walls of the shack, well, it was covered with adult imagery. There were actually some pretty funny comments on this post with people replying, "You probably just missed the painted sign at the side of the road that says 15 miles to the Love Shack." So funny, but also very creepy. This was definitely someone in the 90s because I can't picture anyone now doing this when everything is so easily available and free online. Like why would you print it? But I don't know, maybe people still do. I don't know. In our number 7 spot, we have the car message. When this Reddit user was going for a hike with his grandparents and sibling, he hadn't quite arrived at their starting destination yet when they drove past a car that was right outside of the woods, and on the window was a sign that said, "If you see this, call the police." He pointed it out to his grandparents and they were like, it's nothing. He was only in his early teens at the time and didn't have the courage to report it to the cops nor had a cell phone at the time, but apparently he was really upset that his grandparents hadn't. Maybe it's because they are really secret serial killers and they didn't want to bring any attention to themselves. Dun dun dun. That would be a twist. I guess we'll never know. In our number 6 spot, we have the pee bottles. So this has to be one of the most disgusting ones that I have ever come across. While on a hike with his wife, this guy walked by a famous football player in the woods. He, of course, took a picture with him and was all jazzed up that he randomly met him while on a walk. Very random. He didn't leave a name as he didn't want to implicate the football player. Anyways, so he continued on his walk with his wife when they came across the most interesting thing, an area filled with probably over 50 water bottles filled, you guessed it, with pee. They were quite yellow, so the couple was quite positive it was pee. After seeing the athlete come from the same direction, the guy wondered if maybe that was some kind of pee trading area so that athletes don't get dinged when they have to do tests. Some kind of weird pee trading business. Man, that's actually genius, and honestly, I'd believe it to be true. Fun fact, as a side note, I actually heard that people back in the gladiator days would drink fallen gladiator blood and urine because they thought that it would make them stronger. Whoa. I do not want to imagine this athlete possibly drinking that pee in the woods, but it's hard not to. I may be sick. In our number 5 spot, we have the hole. A hiker was walking through the woods when he came across a hole that was about 1.5 meters deep, and it looked like a grave. It was surrounded by a cage. The hole was full of vines and weeds, so you couldn't really see the bottom. Apparently, he then looked up to see a sharp object stabbed into a tree about 10 meters away. He got a little too spooked that he quickly ran away from the scene as fast as he could in the direction of his car. A commenter on the Reddit post made a good point though, which kind of takes the scary out of this story. The commenter said apparently that a geological survey, or the kind where they check the soil levels, kind of looks like this. The sharp object doesn't fit the rest of the description, but who knows? Maybe the person that made the hole just put the knife in the tree in case any big animals approached and they want to make sure that they're protected. But who knows? In our number 4 spot, we have the old car. This Reddit user was out for a hike on a cute hiking trail in Tennessee when they discovered a really old-timer gangster-looking car. It was discovered at a place called Rock Island State Park, and after finding this car, the hiker noticed that there was a plaque beside the car that says that this trail used to be used for running moonshine during the Prohibition era. Interesting. Apparently one day the car got stuck in the mud and the owner decided to abandon it, as one does. I have enough money, yeah, I'll leave it here and never come back for it. Clearly, as it is still there, no one ever moved it or decided to come back. But it's probably good that they didn't. It makes for a nice historical piece for the time period. In our number 3 spot, we have the doll. This Reddit user was hiking and geocaching in the woods with their best friend. The two of them found what they were looking for and decided to continue hiking. That is when they discovered the creepiest looking doll just sitting there on the ground of the woods in the middle of nowhere, just staring at them. Apparently it was a porcelain doll, which is just straight out of a horror movie, and also the doll was wearing no clothes. Nice. Needless to say, they were freaked out and laughed. Yeah, if I was alone, I probably would have been scared and peed my panties, but seeing it with a friend, I probably would have kept my cool. Nah, that's a lie. Def would have run away. Coming up in our number 2 spot, we have Barney. This Reddit user apparently has come across some crazy things in his time while hiking. One time he discovered a Barney the dinosaur stuffed animal that was hanging from a noose, gutted, and it had 2 holes in it, looking like perhaps someone had been taking shots at it. The other time he found a note hanging from a tree with a long rant and how there's a person born on a specific date and his social security number is, you know, blank ... Then the numbers were listed, and whoever finds this note, wealth and power would flow to them forevermore. Damn, I wish I found that note. Well, that sounds like a better discovery than a gutted Barney stuffy. In our number 1 spot, we have the shady looking bearded guy. This is the story of a camp counselor who was out with his friends hiking and then going on ATV drives around the woods in Montana. They were deep in the wilderness and were camping out when they heard someone outside of their tent. It was a shady looking bearded guy on a dirt bike with a firearm. Apparently the boys stealthily followed the guy back to his tiny shack cabin. They then snuck inside and found all kinds of wires and manuals and cans of butane. They immediately left and went to notify the police. And it's a good thing, because it turns out that this guy was none other than Ted Kaczynski, the American terrorist, mathematician, and anarchist. Alright, that's all the time I have for you today, y'all. I'm Melissa Melotti, your host. Follow me on Insta and YouTube at Melissa Melotti, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.
Kaczynski.
Oh, Kaczynski. Looking like perhaps someone had been taught to